I've got Bishop Prince Bennywood. He's the president of the Concerned Clergy Association of Ghana in studio to discuss this unending, if I may say, unending issue of churches and taxes. Welcome, sir. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
First off, what do you make of all this?
Well, I think that, like you said, it's a perennial. I mean, and especially around this time of the year, almost every year it happens where when the second, the budget review is made, then the government realizes there's a shortfall, then they look around and they throw this discussion and debate into the system to see. But the interesting thing is that we make policies to solve problems. Now the question is, what problem do you want to solve? You understand? They themselves, they don't even have a definition for what a church is. Because you cannot, there is no law in Ghana that defines church as an institution, an organization, which income is derived from tithe and offering. There is no definition. There is no law. There's nothing like that. So if they want to tax any portion of the church, what they have to do is to, first of all, identify what a church is and bring it for a discussion with the various Christian bodies. Then we can all, based on the Bible, arrive at a conclusion as what a church is. Then, based on that, we can decide whether the church is flouting the laws of Ghana or not.
Okay, so in that, I'll bring in something that the former General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Opuni Frimpong, stated. He is actually asking for clarity because for him, the businesses of churches are already taxed. Do you agree with him? Do you need some clarity on this
Exactly.
as well?
The GNRA is being populist. And it's a very lazy and confused way of trying to tell Ghanaians that the problems we are not able to solve is because some people are not paying tax, and it's the church. That's a very bad way of doing things, because if we have a national problem with revenue generation, you don't single out an institution like a church and try to throw it into the system to make the people think that, oh, okay, so if the church pays us, all our problems will be solved. That is even close to evil. Now, to look at what is it they want to do? What exactly is their problem? If you think that people are using the church to do business and to hide from tax
or evade tax,
then it's a criminal issue. And the society, all right, in the society, there are a lot of criminal events that is going on. And you cannot go and look for every criminal and say, where organization you go, which school did you go, where do you stay, and all these people in the area, we are going to tax you because this man who stays here and has built a house here, he's committed a crime, and because of that. When you do that, that's what I'm saying, it's a lazy and a confused approach. They should reason properly and find out exactly what they want to achieve. Look, every church that is into any business is already paying tax. Church workers some of them are paying snitch and all that. So I don't know, that's what I'm saying, that they themselves should be able to explain what problem do they want to solve. Some of the pastors that they think that are displaying wealth, like the president said, are showing prosperity. Some of them have businesses outside the church. In actual fact, most pastors, I can tell you for a fact, most pastors in Ghana use their income to finance church work. Because the system, I mean, how many people in Ghana are rich?
Okay. I mean, you're president of the Concerned Clergy Association of Ghana, and the GRA boss in his speech subtly is pointing to some churches or some priests or pastors who use their church as a cover-up for businesses they do, and they don't pay tax on those businesses. As president of the Concerned Clergy Association of Ghana, what do you think the church itself can do, even before the GRA comes in, because it's still the church's reputation anyway, to deal with these bad nuts that are within the system?
The church, our job is not to arrest criminals.
Not to arrest, but to sanitize the system.
Yes, so we can only talk, we can only preach like we do. We tell people not to commit fornication, they are doing it. What can you do about it? You can only our job is to tell the people the right thing, if they refuse to do it. There are people in the society who will not do the right thing. So that's what I'm saying, that if a pastor is doing that, he is committing a criminal offense, and that the state should deal with him as an individual. But you should not generalize it. It's the generalization of this issue that is a problem. If they generalize it, they will not get even one city from anybody. But if they decide to deal with individuals, then they will be able to solve the problem they have seen. If they have seen pastors using the church as a cover-up, that is an individual issue, because most pastors are not doing that.
I'll come back to you, Bishop Benny Wood, because President Akufo-Addo says the creeping popularity contest and show of wealth among men of God in churches is fueling calls for the taxation of churches. For him, the deviation of the church from building schools, hospitals, and other social intervention programs is making the case valid. He was addressing the Synod of the Global Evangelical Church.
These are interesting times for all of us in our country, as we grapple with the task of building a happy and prosperous nation. It could not be lost on anyone that there are increasing calls for churches to be taxed. It is not difficult to see what is driving these calls. For years, the churches were seen as leading the drive for development. They built and ran schools and hospitals. They led the campaign for good sanitation. Cleanliness was next to godliness. They preached and practiced. There were church services where worshippers sang to their heart's content, but there was no question of keeping whole communities awake night after night. Nor were there churches that were sources of noise nuisance. The priests in churches, leaders led their lives that the average person could identify with. I am not getting into the merits and demerits of the prosperity gospel that appears to the main theme for many of our present-day churches. But the difficult truth is that once you get into the wealth and prosperity sphere, you necessarily slip and concentrate on being outrageous. It is not surprising that there are calls for taxes to be imposed on church incomes. When you step out of the charity sphere, out of education, and out of healthcare, you're putting yourself in the line of the taxman. Both institutions, that is government and the church, are leading the people, and both hold out promises for a better tomorrow. We have a duty and responsibility to work together to improve the condition of the people.
Bishop Benny Wood, do you agree that the church is deviating from building hospitals and carrying out some social initiatives, and so that has, kind of justified the call to tax them?
I think that I would have loved for the president to have given statistics that between the period of this is the number of schools and hospitals churches built, but from this period to this period there is none. So maybe, but the church is involved. So because he could have got the statistics of what the churches are doing, but he didn't say it, he just said it. And some of these things comes out of, they watch TV, see one or two pastors displaying wealth and all that, and listen to radio. But a president shouldn't talk like that, you see, because you are the man who is in charge of the nation, and you must speak with facts and statistics. The church has not gone. In actual fact, what the church used to do before was that the church used to set up schools and set up hospitals. This time around, what the church is doing, that the church is paying for people to go to school and paying for people's hospital bills. So there is not money as it used to be for us to even to set up the structures as it used. And these days, because of technology, you don't need to be putting up all these buildings. There are so many ways you can take care of the health of your people and the education of it without necessarily putting up a building. Our job basically is the soul of the people. We get the money, we tell the people to give their life to Jesus so that they can live a good life and help the society to become better, and then we use the money they bring to go back to bring in more people. That's our
if your concern is the people's souls, then one will argue, why take money from them? Why ask them to pay offerings? Why ask them to...
Yes, because it's a non-profit organization. They register us as a non-profit organization. It's the government who registers us as a non-profit organization. And we are saying that even if you are doing something that makes you pay tax, the churches that have established schools, they are paying so much tax. This this free SHS has collapsed some of the schools of churches. So which church do you want to go and set up? You've brought a free SHS that has collapsed private schools. You want the church to go back and start up. When we set up schools, it will collapse. Because your education policy is not inuring to the benefit of the private sector.
But there are many other things you can do. You can build hospitals.
So
you can.
That's why I said it's a lazy and confused approach. They don't know what to do. If they want to raise their tax obligation and raise the revenue generation for the nation, this is not the approach. Look, the church is classified with the political parties, with mosques, with shrines and everything. The most criminal network in Ghana or in the world is the political parties. They have never made one attempt to even bring the auditing account of political party to find out how they make money. If they want money, they could go to political parties. Because if an opposition party can get millions of dollars to do campaign and to win power, then they are making more money than the church. So they should go there. They should go there. They can get more tax there. They should find out what the political parties are doing to make money. Because the church is open. Every pastor sells water in the church open. They sell oil in the open. What do political parties do to make money? That's a criminal network, an enterprise.
Well, let's bring the example from other jurisdictions, because in the U.S., for example, churches received official federal income tax exemption in 1894, and they've been unofficially tax exempt since the country's founding.
The Johnson Amendment.
All 50 U.S. states and districts of Columbia exempt churches from paying property tax, but donations to churches are tax deductible. And I've seen that a couple of times when you're watching sermons from preachers outside the country. They ask for donations and they say that the amount you're sending, a certain limit, is not taxable, but if it goes beyond the limit approved, it is deductible. Do you think that we can begin as a country to look at those other options where when people donate or give offerings, we can put a little aside for government?
Yeah, you see, those laws were passed basically because, these Latin Americans and other guys, because of the drug issue. So these laws were made basically to check money laundering from drug dealers. So they limit the amount you can even give to church. But it wasn't a law that they willingly passed. But they need to do that to stop. And they passed it at a time that drug dealing was coming too much into the system, and the drug dealers were using the church as a conduit. You understand? They were giving so much money to the church, and then they would turn around to come and beg the church for the same money. So the government decided to pass this law to limit the income. Now, if that's what I'm saying, that if they want to solve a problem, they should tell us which problem they want to solve. Then we can discuss which law can be put to solve that problem. But they've not told us the problem. All they're saying that pastors are hiding behind, some people are displaced. Does that warrant a law? That's not how laws are made.
Okay, so in the UK, for example, you can either register your church as a charity or as sort of a business organization. So as charity, you don't pay tax because the assumption is that you're meeting other needs, like the president mentioned, and government also gives some support, like it happens in the Church of England in the UK, for example. They give them some amount monthly because the belief is that you're helping government to solve social needs by meeting other demands. What about that also? Should we have that? Okay, if you're an organization, we know that you're a business organization, you're running the church quote unquote like a business, or if it is a charity, then we know that we don't expect you to see you using the church money to buy flashy cars and other buildings.
I mean, the laws of the land is such that the churches are supposed to file tax returns and other things, based on the laws that govern registration of organizations. Have they themselves, have the authorities, have they been checking to make sure that the churches are filing the right taxes and the churches are having the right books that they can even invest? They are not doing those things. They are not doing those things. So the churches are there. And most of the time, the money that comes into the church, it is for this same charity thing that they are talking about. Most people that come to church don't have the amount of money people think they are having. You understand? So the church is still classified as a charity organization. If the church is involved in any business apart from the core business of soul saving and soul preservation and then and charity work, that is something the institutions might deal with. But you can't pass a law if 1, 2, 3, or even 10 pastors, you see them are doing that, because that is purely a criminal issue. And you cannot say this is what the church is doing, because by law, that is not what we are. So you cannot charge us for that. If we don't get any support, the church don't get any support. In actual fact, the little help the government gives to churches, it is given in the interest of the Orthodox churches. Because the laws that were passed from the colonial masters even to the independence era, all those days, the churches that were prevalent were Orthodox churches, Methodist, Anglican, Presby, and all that. So the laws were skewed to favor them. So right now, apart from the Orthodox people who get some benefits from tax exempt when they ship things and import things, and the charismatic churches, they don't get anything, because when you go there, the things they have listed as tax exempts, you don't use it in church. So there's a problem we have to solve. You understand? There's a bigger problem we have to solve. So we pay more in doing churches than Orthodox churches do.
So are you in effect saying that churches deserve a tax break because of some of the social interventions or social needs of the people they meet?
The laws on taxation as far as the churches are concerned should be reviewed completely, because the dynamics have changed.
Okay.
We should review the laws. We should sit down and have a national discussion with the major stakeholders in Christendom, and then come to a conclusion that this is what is good for the church, and this is what, if the church does, the society can benefit from it. But as of now, if they make any attempt, they should, all NGOs, all non-profit organizations must be dragged into the net to pay tax. If that is it, fine. But if they fix their intent on the church, they will not get anything, because it will not work.
Thank you very much, Bishop Benny Wood. I know this conversation will come up some other time, and we'll definitely invite you. Bishop Benny Wood is president of the Concerned Clergy Association of Ghana. Apologies we couldn't bring you that conversation with Prophet Brian Martin from the UK, but definitely a lot of interesting angles to this. And as the GRA has planned to do, we'll be bringing you more on this as the conversation continues. Now, block all illegal routes to the Tema motorway and further demolish all illegal structures on the route within 2 weeks. That is the directive from the Roads Minister to the Ghana Highways Authority. The directive, according to Kwesi Amoakwata, is to allow work to start on expansion of the motorway from the current 2 to 6 lanes. He announced this during the commissioning of the Spintex East Legon Tunnel. The 23 million cedi project was started in August last year, is expected to reduce traffic on the road. Government is hoping to replicate the project in traffic-prone areas across the country. Touching on the Tema motorway, Mr. Amoakwata said protection of life and property influenced the decision to enforce the directive.